So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So if you all know me out there, I'm very passionate about Bordeaux. Bordeaux to me is nirvana, and I've always felt that way. So, but now we're going to talk about a new vintage that's coming, and I want to explain a little bit about the 2023 vintage because I've gotten my reports from a lot of key people that I really trust in Bordeaux. I wanted to highlight some of that today, but I'm going to talk about this vintage because, Bordeaux, as within the world right now, is going through struggles, with a lot of things. It's economic conditions that we all know, but also global warming, which, if you followed anything in Bordeaux, like last year, 2022 was a great year in Bordeaux, but they didn't know how the grapes were actually going to adapt and how they were going to weather, the heat. They had two major heat factors in 2022, and so 2023 they did have some heat, but they also had some problems. So one of my friends I talked to on the phone, we were talking like May, June, and you're just about to do the flowering process. And he said, David, you would not recognize the vineyard. And I said, why? He said, well, we had a lot of problems here in Bordeaux. He was on the map here. We were talking about Castillon. So we're talking about, obviously this is the left bank here, which is Cabernet Sauvignon. And when you see on the right side of the river here, this is mostly Merlot and Cabernet Franc, a little bit of Cabernet as well. But, Merlot and Cabernet are the key components to the right. And when he told me that the Merlot grape was suffering from that year with a little bit of a mildew problem, and they were trying to solve this problem, and they really didn't know how to handle it. Again, we're talking about, what is the future of wine and future of vinicultural here? And we were talking about Bordeaux. They actually have now accepted different grape varietals besides Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. They're actually now accepting different grapes where people can plant, grapes that are going to be grapes that can actually take to heat, like Tannat, which is, obviously from the south. You also have some grapes that are growing in the Douro Valley, and they're trying to really adapt to the weather conditions. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw this mildew coming. So, we don't really know the final product, but what I'm hearing, and I did have some notes here that I wanted to share with you from one of my key guys, as I'm showing you the map of Bordeaux, so this is a very extensive area. So we're not talking about, an area that's just affected by certain areas, but some of the 5 key factors for understanding the 23 vintage. A mildew attack in June created considerable problems for grapes. Rainfall in September redistributed the vintage. After a cool start to the season, an Indian summer gave way to another phase of the vintage. The harvest was widespread, lasting from the 20th of August, that's an early picking, to 8th of October. A magnificent year for Cabernet Sauvignon, especially for the left bank. So this is how we judge Bordeaux, because sometimes we call, Bordeaux, like last year, 2022, I call it a heterogeneous, vintage, which means they made great wines here on the right, they made great wines here on the left, and, they had the problems with the fires, in Paysac here. So you had fires that was in the forest here that were affecting the wind here, but everything kind of blew away here. So they didn't really have any smoke taint. Thank God they didn't. And then the 22 vintage here on the left and on the right was great. Now this year you had some issues with Merlot, and that's going to be a major problem here. But Cabernet Sauvignon was not affected. So all of these vineyards from Pauillac to like Chateau Lafite, to Mouton, to Ducru, making great wines. All of these had mostly Cabernet Sauvignon, which was the foundation of these grapes here. So if you didn't make great Merlot, you can always eliminate a lot of the Merlot, you know, when you do these kind of vintages, everything is just selective. So you're picking only the best Merlot or the best Cabernet Franc to produce these wines. So it looks like it's going to be a great vintage here. This is the area that got tested. But from what I'm really hearing, especially in Saint-Emilion and in Pomerol, they're actually, you know, the people that weathered the storm could actually treat the Merlot. And when you have, especially in Pomerol, like Chateau Petrus, Vaux Chateau Certain, La Pan, these people actually made really, really good wines. And that tells you a testament to the vineyard, tells you a testament of the grape. It also tells you what's going on in Bordeaux with technology. I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens 10 years from now. I just read a report that they're going to start producing grapes in Scotland. They're going to start producing grapes in Scandinavia. You could never actually grow grapes in these cold climates. So you can see things are changing. And a lot of people in Bordeaux, you know, I don't want to say they're worried, but they have to adapt. And then you have to change. And you have to find grapes that'll actually take, because there's going to be a lot of heat that's going on in this area in the future. Rising temperatures, you get this mildew problem, which is obviously, you know, hot and cold positions. You get a little bit of that wetness, you know, that's actually creating some issues here. But what I think is 2023, we have to pay attention because, you know, I'm in the trade. I keep noticing the 22 prices were much too high on a lot of wines, especially what I noticed, you know, the prices started going up 30, 40%. So from what I'm hearing in my report, which actually is a fabulous report, I want to give a shout out to Very Latour and, you know, my contact, Gaetan Corbier, who sent me these notes. Every year he does a great job, a magnificent job. He works with the Roland team, Michel Roland's team, and they go into a study of what's going on from April to May to June to July to the harvest, and they can actually identify what's going on to see, you know, where the problematic positions are. But what they're saying right now is that they think the prices are going to go down to 2019 level. Okay, that's good news for the trade. We need a discount from the chateaus. We need the chateaus to look at the market today, which is not an easy market right now. A lot of people are not buying expensive wines. Right now, they're hovering a little bit. We need a break in the action in Bordeaux. We need for the vintage to actually, you know, disguise itself as a trouble vintage. But, you know, if we can get a discount on Lafite or a discount on Mouton or any of these great wines, hey, you know, that's what the market's all about. You know, show us a great wine in Bordeaux that you can actually make in a difficult vintage and give us what we deserve. We deserve prices that are going to be relative to the quality level of the wines. Again, I wanted to give a report here because I think 2023 is a vintage to pay attention to, especially in pricing structure. And we're going to start noticing the prices now. We're going to be coming out. So the Premier market is now. The price is going to be coming out in May, June. You'll start to see, you know, Cheval Blanc always comes out early. We're going to test the market. Let's see what Cheval Blanc does, because I think it's about time we get some pricing, you know, decreases after what we had to pay in 2022 and 20 vintage. And I think 2023 could be an area where you could spend some time and get some good values. Again, this Grape Explorer trying to give a heads up of what's going on in the world of wine today. Cheers.